Thank you. So yeah, we're just here to talk a little bit about Lipa Learning and our vision for education. So just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm sorry I don't play by the rules of the PowerPoint here. We made our own. Like was mentioned, I'm from a family of teachers. I've been teaching for just over 10 years. I'm not a gamer myself, but I have been a teacher and a head teacher, so I know a little bit about education. Lipa Learning is a company, educational-based learning company, which is trying to make a difference to early years, meaning specifically between 0 and 6 years old children. So, start with a quote. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing it's stupid. A very prominent quote for what is coming. There is a big problem in education all throughout the world. I'm sure some of you know it. If you don't, I'll highlight some of the biggest problems at the moment. 250 million children without the ability to read, write, or do basic mathematics. And unfortunately, there is no sustainable solution to this being offered at the moment. There is no way that we can teach enough teachers or build enough schools to fill this gap. In addition, the education which children are receiving, especially in preschool age, is not so good. A study which was done 2 years ago called Crisis in the Kindergarten states that preschool children age 3 or 4 years old, get 30 minutes of playtime per day in American preschools, which I don't know about you, but I can't go with 30 minutes a day playtime. So this is one big problem. And the second big problem we're highlighting here is actually the content which these children are being taught. So 98% of children aged 5 years old are genius level at divergent thinking. However, by the time you get to adulthood, it's only 3%. Now, divergent thinking is the style of thinking which most of you here at this conference will be using. It's your ability to think outside the box, to think differently about a problem. So we are actually, unfortunately, teaching children out of these essential skills which really we need at the moment. So this is a very brief outline of what the problem is. But to every problem, there is a most simple solution. We've outlined 4 different stages which need to be accomplished to address this problem. So that's content, style, timing, and access. Content. I like to call it the World of Warcraft principle. Basically, imagine if I give a 5-year-old child, or maybe older, 14-year-old, or anybody that's sat in here, a biology textbook, and I say, go away, learn that biology textbook. You have 1 month, and in 1 month I will give you a test. You'll see what's there. I would imagine that most people sat in this room would fail it, and most 5-year-olds would fail it because they're not interested. They don't care about biology textbook. However, if I give them World of Warcraft, and I say, go away and play World of Warcraft, in 1 month you'll have a test. They will be able to tell me everything about that game. All of the little details, all of the characters, all of the worlds, everything that is involved in there. Actually, the processes that are involved in the brain to learn this stuff is exactly the same. It's the way that the content is delivered. So content is key. Style, very quickly, the Albert Einstein principle. This is something I talked about a little bit before between divergent and convergent thinking styles. Reason for Albert Einstein was very good at both. So he was a very logical thinker, very convergent style thinker. And he used his knowledge of physics and mathematics to get very, very far on in the problem that he was studying at the moment. But it was when he used divergent thinking which really made him the genius of our time. When he thought, okay, what if time is relative? And that is how he solved the problem that was at the time between how light moves as a particle or as a wave. And basically this is one of the things which we need to teach to our children. These 2 different styles of thinking, 2 very different approaches. And timing. There is no more important time in your life than preschool age. Preschool Study was a 40-year-long study on the effects of a good preschool education on young children, and it goes in every area of your life, including your IQ, including how much you'll be paid at work, including what job you get, if you'll own your own home. This is the most important time. And access. There's no point in having all of these wonderful ideas, all of these wonderful concepts, if nobody can access them. 250 million children, if they can't access it, what use am I to them? So, be the change you wish to see in the world. This is Lipa Learning's philosophy as a company. We want to put things right, and we have what I will outline now is our approach to doing that. So Lipa Learning is a company which is fully funded by EMTC. EMTC is a sales and marketing company in the Czech Republic. To date, we've received something like $4 million worth of investment from Sole Investor. And this is where we're coming from. We want to build a system of education which will solve these problems. We're not worried about monetizing it at the moment. We're not worried about producing something which will be commercially successful. We are more worried about producing something which will actually solve this problem. So our approach, basically we looked at a lot of different ways to teach young children. We looked at a lot of different curricula from around the world. Specifically, we looked in the UK, in the US, Norway, Sweden, Finland. We looked even in China, Singapore, lots of different places. But we also looked at alternative themes of education. So Waldorf, Montessori, Reggio Emilia, these styles. And we looked at really what does learning mean, and how can we teach children in the best way. We kind of simplified this down into our 5 key principles as a company. A safe educational space. This is a space where children can learn without in-apps, without advertising, without a parent's fear or a teacher's fear of what that child is learning or what that child is being exposed to. Also, we have no violence in our games, obviously. This kind of stuff. So higher order thinking as well. These are the convergent, divergent thinking styles based on Bloom's taxonomy of thinking. Basically teaching the whole child everything they need to know, everything from rote learning all the way up to their ability to synthesize their own understanding. Progressive and developmental learning, which is tied in with curriculum-based learning. So we have a curriculum of learning, which I'll show you in a little while, and real-world skills, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we simplified all of these different approaches to learning into something which was user accessible, respectively parent accessible, teacher accessible, something that you don't need to know, you don't need to have a PhD in early childhood education to be able to understand. Fundamental skills is basically a young child's ability to access an iPad, to access this content, and then language, creativity, maths and science. Basically every user kind of knows what you mean when you say language, and we're going to work on a language game here. So it's the system is built to be something which is user-friendly and user-accessible. This is our current curriculum of apps at the moment, and their respective categories. We've got 12 apps which are on the App Store free to download with no in-app purchases, as I mentioned. Another 2 apps which are currently finished, and another 2 apps which are in development for this system. But as a company, we know that, and myself as a preschool teacher, we know this is not the be-all and end-all of a child's education. You cannot simply give a child a tablet and say, go away and you will become a genius if you play all of these games. You need to supplement this with an entire curriculum of learning, an entire philosophy of learning. So we have our real-world skills. Real-world skills basically means that every app has a skill which the child can learn in the real world. It's kind of like a proof of concept for that game, where the child and the parent can play that or do that real world skill and find out more about the skill they learned in the game. Higher order thinking skills we've talked about a little bit. Gateway app. So Gateway app is basically the parent's ability to access the learning that the child's got. This is a parent app, also used by teachers, and it's the place where you can see progress tracking of your child, you can see the developmental learning of that child, There's parental content, so there's some content to see, okay, what do I do with my child when they are this age? What do I do with my child when this is happening with them? Etc., etc. And you can see as a parent, you can access this parent app and see, okay, what does my child learn now? What should they learn in the future? Maybe where are the gaps in their knowledge and where can we go next? And in addition to that, we've got Lipa Village. So Lipa Village is a website which is kind of a solution for motherhood, childhood, and maybe fatherhood as well. So it's really an entire system which we're making here for early years learning. And we didn't stop there either. In November, we bought our own preschool to prove how this system works for real. So in addition to the apps, in addition to the learning, in addition to the real world skills and all of this content we've got, we're actually proving how this can be used in our own preschool with our own philosophy. In addition to having our own preschool, we do have a lot of preschools which we test with, a few hundred children which we test with every 2 weeks, these games. So it's really a great resource for us and a great place to find out how digital learning can work and how it should work for the future of our young children. So the problem which I highlighted at the beginning, 250 million children without education. We make education mobile. Education that's not fun, we base it on games. And teaching our children out of essential skills, we made these essential skills the basis of our curriculum. A lot of people ask me, why should I use Lipa? Why not something else? Our answer to that is because you are the future of your child. Lipa Learning is doing everything we can, everything which is, I would say, humanly possible to enrich the lives of young children and their learning. And we want parents to join us, parents to be part of us, because they are the future of their child, and Lipa Learning is the company which is going to help them get them to the right place. So that's everything from me. If there's any questions, I would love to answer them. Yes.
Oh, that was Are you building any systems so that in a classroom environment, there's a way of actually seeing how the students are doing, and teachers can use that to decide how to help the students that might be stuck somewhere and so on?
For sure.
Like I guess you call it integrated learning system type stuff.
Yeah. So this is part of our Gateway app. We actually work with a lot of teachers on this. One example which comes to mind is Srini Swaminathan. He's an Apple Distinguished Educator. He works in India at the moment, actually, with children in very poor circumstances. And he uses our apps all the time in the classroom to teach children the content which they're learning there. And he uses the Gateway app to track how those children are learning this content and where he can learn it, where he can go with them next, what downloadable. So we've got some downloadable resources, for example, which supplement the games. So yeah, this is definitely part of what we're doing. At the moment, I would say we are maybe 70% focused on parents, 30% on teachers, but those aren't hard numbers in terms of what we're making. We're much more focused on making a system of education which can deal with everybody which comes to it. So yeah.
Actually, I think he was first.
Hi, thanks for your talk. Have you had any aha or any surprising experiences that are divergent from what you expected in the development?
I work with preschool kids. Of course, every day.
Can you give us an example where you said, hey, this wasn't how we expected and this is where we changed the game?
Yes. So one great example of this is Lipa Mole. I am a preschool teacher. I have the brain of a preschool teacher, and sometimes that is not such a great thing. So Lipa Mole was originally based on a lot of academic research which is saying how children should write their letters. It's based on something like 50 years of research into how children do this. We took the app to a classroom. Children don't do it that way. They just don't do it that way. So we had to completely rework the app based on the feedback that we were getting from the classrooms. This was from quite a lot of classrooms and quite a lot of children at all different ages. It took us plenty of time, plenty of resources, and a very some not happy product department, but this is the way it is for us. Like I say, we're focused on building a content system which works, not on something which academics or anybody else says is a good idea. So this happens to us all the time, especially with our user testing, but that's the fun of the game, in my perspective.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm questioning localization. So, do you localize your games, or are they mainly not required to be localized?
Yeah.
So more graphically appealing.
So for sure, the content which the children are playing is not required to be localized. We're talking about children which are 6 years old.
Yeah.
Most 6-year-olds, they're not so good at reading. However, we do have content for parents, which is very important. One of the kind of philosophies for us as a company is we need to teach parents. We need to teach parents how to deal with their children. We need to teach parents what to do. Our content is localized into 8 different languages at the moment, but it's something which we feel very strongly about. Not just that the words are translated, but the feeling of the application as well. So you can just translate the words on Google Translate and it pretty much means nothing. We take a lot of time picking the translators so that they understand the kind of heart and soul of Lipa before they go and do the translation. So everything which we do as a company is brought through in every product which we make.
Well, a following up question. Did you had any issues with like cultural localization? Also, like you just mentioned children's writing.
Yes,
Different in each country or something like that.
for
That
sure.
you had to change the game, actually.
For sure. So we actually have quite an international team working with us. So we've got a lot of feedback for things that work in some countries, things that don't work in some countries. For example, using cows for an app which is going to go to India, you've got to be a little bit careful about this. A great example of this is our upcoming game, which is Lipa Band. And basically this game, kind of without giving too much away about it because it's not currently available, is about bringing these cultures together from around the world. So it's something which we have very much on our mind all of the time, how to integrate these different things. So yeah, it can be good fun, but that's the game.
Are there any other questions? I'd like to ask a quick one then. So then, Ian, how do you see Lipa fitting into, say, maybe an ecosystem solution to the problem of access, given limited budgets all over the world? You know, how is this going to work?
Yeah, for sure. So our philosophy as a company is to make this education accessible. That is one of the most important things to us, is that children can access that. One example of that, especially at the moment, is all of our content is free, freely accessible. The content is content which can be placed into any classroom or with any parent, and it will work as a supplement to the classroom material. That's how we see it as a company. We recognize it's not a great idea, for example, to leave these children to play on a tablet all day long. Actually, at 4 years old, the children are supposed to have maximum of 1 hour per day to play on these devices. So what we recommend is that the child plays on it as a supplement to all of the other materials which we make as a company. So all of the content is something which fits very well into current teaching methods, and we work very hard with teachers to make sure that happens. But as I mentioned at the start, our philosophy of the company is that actually education is not doing such a great job at the moment, and we want to change it a little bit. We think it needs to be changed a little bit. There's a lot of proof that it needs to be changed a little bit. If you ask a lot of academics, they will tell you yes, it needs to be changed, and this is exactly how to do it, but unfortunately nobody is doing it. So one of our key kind of missions as a company is to be part of this change and to show people how to do it. Respectively with our preschool is a great place where we can actually show people, hey, this is the way it works, this is the way it should work, and this is how you can do it as well. So yeah, I would say that.
We have another question over there.
Thanks for your insights so far. My question would be, how did you buy a preschool? And how did the parents react to that?
Yes. So as head of the preschool project, I can tell you it was a fun experience, as most things can be. Basically, we found a preschool which was fully running, but the owner had decided that she didn't want to work there anymore. As a company, it was the right time for us to buy this preschool, so we bought it as an already running preschool. We kind of rescued it, I would say. So the parents are very happy with what's going on. We are very sensitive to what's to their perspective of us as a company. We don't want to come in and say, hey, all of your children are now our test subjects. Nice one. Doesn't work quite like that. So we are very sensitive as a company to the needs of the parents, both in the preschool but also generally as a company. So a little bit about the preschool. We have a saying in Lipa that something is Lipa style. It means it's a little bit different. The preschool we have, our headquarters is in Prague, and the preschool is 5 minutes away from our headquarters. It has a 2,000 square meter garden. It is dead in the city center. It has a 10 by 10 meter trampoline there. It has interactive whiteboards, etc., etc. So this is really a preschool which we like to think of as the future of what a preschool should be, and a place where we can show people, hey, this is the way it should go. You should do it too. So.
Any other questions? Well, if not, then let's thank Ian Hook. Thank you, Lipa Learning.
Thank you.